Welcome once again, everyone, to Conversations with Sandra. I am the Coach Sandra, the compassionate queen of straight talk, helping people learn to speak up and speak out and change the world around. I'm really pleased to have with me today Darren Mann. He's coming from Langley, BC. Aren't we lucky to have Zoom to get us all over the world? And we actually met in Share Every Global Foundation in India. So this is why I know a lot of people are tired of Zooming, but Zoom has really connected the world. So we were both in India presenting with Share Every, and here we are in Canada making a difference in the world. You're making a difference from your area of work. I know we're not going to talk so much about the work, I'm the financial planner and you're the project manager and all that stuff. Yeah, that's what we do at work. That's how we make a living. But what we're talking about today is how we make our life. We make the life where the real passion shows. So Darren, you can take a couple minutes and tell us about your 15 years and so on of project management, but how does that translate into the passion you have working with your church board?
Yeah, wow, it's a great question. I've been studying leadership, I would say, for the last 20 years. And that study of leadership has led me into so many different areas and directions. So I would say, I've been a project manager for about 15 years, but like I said, I've been studying leadership for 20 years. And I've been in church leadership for about that time as well. So I'm a pastor. I'm currently on the board. I lead. I'm a young adult pastor, so I lead a group of young adults that are about ages 25 to 35.
Okay.
And that keeps me young. It
Yes.
keeps me very young.
Well, you're only 40, aren't you?
Yeah, I just turned 40 again this year.
And I'm only 50.
Yeah,
so why that age bracket? I know it keeps you young, but you're not working with their children. But I imagine if you're working with 25 to 35, they're just nicely getting into all those little children around, and it might be helping them with their parenting and the relationship and continuing a married relationship while you're raising children. That's a challenge.
Yeah. I think the reason that I enjoy working with that age group is I'm able to give back. I'm able to leave a legacy. And I made a lot of mistakes, when I was that age, as we all do. And it's a way to help that next generation to have guidance, to have someone that has gone before them and help them to not make some of the same mistakes that I made. So I really love mentoring, pouring back into the next generation, and this gives me the opportunity to do that.
Oh, wow. And it's quite futile.
Why is that?
Well, I raised my children. I didn't do any of the things to them that I thought my parents did to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I still didn't win because they just found new stuff that I did wrong.
Okay.
But no, I do agree. It's always hard to just think that we don't have to find all our own mistakes, and we hear about somebody else's, and then we come into an area where, oh, there I go again. But I think that also speaks to the resilience of life, So it's not that we're just going to learn, here's what I did, so you do this.
That's right. Yeah.
Boy, you're still going to have a colorful life of mistakes and mishaps, don't you think?
Oh, yes, definitely. One of the things that my wife and I actually lead the young adult group. And one of the things that we do is every 3 months, we bring in a guest speaker. So someone that speaks on health, wealth, and relationships. So we focus on those 3 areas. And that allows them to get another perspective outside of us just teaching all the time. And then we also have a few of the young adults that lead as well. But I think that, like I said, gives a different perspective because we have someone that comes in that is we had someone that just came in as a business owner. We're going to have a counselor come in next time. And so we have different, experts in different areas come in and speak in their area. And that sort of, it broadens their perspective than like I said, just us teaching them.
Well, perhaps you'll have me sometime for
Perhaps.
financial life guidance.
Oh, okay. You do financial.
I've been
Yes.
doing it for 42 years.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll have to sync up the times, but yeah. Yeah.
But I've been working more recently with a hotline, what they call hotline financial.
Hmm.
And that means that people have something on their mind. They call into the 1-800 number, and I'm almost like a call center person. I mean, I have a window of time to get back in
Mm.
touch with them. But I am meeting the grit, I'll tell you, the
Oh,
bare
okay.
bones, because they
Mm.
come in and they've left issues too long or whatever. And so I have anywhere from 10 minutes to an hour and 10 minutes to
Oh,
help
wow.
them resolve that issue. But
Hmm.
I'm finding that the life guidance from somebody with experience. So I'm not going to talk specifically about which investments you go in. Mm-mm-mm. Money and your relationship through life. But anyhow, that's getting off to something else.
Yeah. Okay.
There,
Well,
people are going,
thank you
we're
for
going to
sharing.
collaborate.
Yeah. Well, this is what this is all about, right? It's about relationships and learning from one another. So, but yeah,
That's
thank
right.
you.
And
Hmm.
the other thing that I'm doing right now is I'm writing my book.
Oh,
And
okay.
you have a book out.
I
So
do.
I'm learning what pain you went through creating your book, but tell us about your book, how it came to be, what it's called, and why you did it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for again for this opportunity. My book is called Three Pillars of Learning: Education, Conversation, and Observation. And what inspired
Say
me, I was
those
at a,
one more time. Say those three one more time because
okay, those three one more time.
yes,
Um, Three pillars of learning: education, conversation, and observation.
critical. Yeah, they're very different, but very critical.
Hmm.
Successful relationship, in my opinion.
Yeah. So I was, what inspired me, I attended a conference, this is about 2 years ago, and I was at this conference, and one of the speakers, Tim Story, not sure if you're familiar who he is, but he's a life coach, and he's a life coach to the stars. Anyway, but so he spoke, and he spoke on, he mentioned this quote by Dennis Waitley. He said, "There's three ways to learn: through education, conversation, and observation." And that really just inspired me. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to write a book on that. And I had a coach at the time, and my coach said, you need to write an ebook. And so I said, I know what I'm going to write the ebook on. And so I started writing this book on the three pillars of learning. Now, the reason, or the, I guess the importance of the book to me is education is sort of that formal learning. So it's lifelong learning. You might take a course, you may go back and get your degree. So
Mhm.
that's that formal education. But what I'm finding as I wrote this book is conversations is really where you learn a lot. Us right now, you and I, Sandra, are having a conversation. And I've learned so much just by tuning into different podcasts. And I talk about that in the book. So, podcast is a conversation. One of the things that I do on a monthly basis is I meet with an expert and I ask them 5 questions. And those 5 questions are: what are your strengths? That's number one. Number two is: what are you learning right now? Um, Number three is: what do I need from you? Number four is: um, what are you reading? Who do you know? And what do I need to know? And number five is: what are some gaps? What are some things that I should have asked that I didn't ask you?
Wow.
And I'm telling you, Sandra, I've learned so much from those having those conversations. These are all in the book. These questions are in the book. But I've learned so much from having these conversations with people. I was meeting with a gentleman, this is about a month ago, and he was a part of my organization. And I asked the question, what do I need right now? And he said, you are a very smart individual. You know a lot. You have a lot going for you. He said, but I don't know. He said, you need to be a little bit more visible in the organization. He said that, you have so much to share. You have so much knowledge but you need to be a little bit more visible. And I thought, wow, this is a person that I've known for, probably about 3 or 4 months. And that's something that he saw, a blind spot that he saw in my, in the way that I carried myself. So I was able to make some adjustments and some changes based on that conversation. So conversation, education, conversation, and observation. Do you want to speak a little bit about observation, or do you have any thoughts before I?
Well, as you were speaking, certainly the formal education is critical, as you're not going to have very smart. Well, I shouldn't say that. Many people are educated without the formal education because they've been in conversation and observation. So even if they didn't have the opportunity for the university degrees and the college and all that, doesn't discount the wisdom that they have in the education they've learned. That engaging in those conversations in depth is really a life changer. And the other thing, I remember having that aha moment when I always thought, there was a time I thought, well, it's in the book, so that's got to be. And I was discounting my own wisdom, if you will, relying on, the book, because somebody put that in the book. And so there it is. And I remember it was, I'm oldie. So probably three or 4 decades ago, I looked at all my wonderful books and it hit me. Oh my goodness, no, books are a conversation. That was huge.
Yes.
Books are a conversation. It's the same as when you're a speaker on the stage. If you're speaking well, you're having a conversation with your audience.
That's
even
right.
though there's only one person speaking. And it changes the whole way you read the books. It changes the whole way you present to people, because you're not presenting to them anymore. You're conversing with them.
That's right.
And so conversation is just absolute beautiful light.
Yeah. And you make a great point there, Sandra. And one of the things that I talk about in the book is connections. And what conversation does is, if we're really conversating with people, we are connecting. We're making a connection with them, and we're learning something from them. They're learning something from us. There's a book by John Maxwell. It's called Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. So a lot of people communicate. They say a lot of words. I think I've read a study that I think we say 17,000 words in a day, but how many of those words actually connect? And so that's what I'm talking about with the conversations, is having a lot of different connections and having those conversations, making those connections. And through that, that's where the life change really starts to happen.
It sure does.
Yeah.
It's really neat. So go ahead with your observation, because I am, quite often, people see me, so they never miss that I'm in the room. And sometimes I'm the mouthpiece, but quite often I'm the quiet one as well. And I will assess the whole room. I'll be observing.
Yeah. What inspired me about the observation, the same conference, Tim Story, he really connected with me at this conference. He was a speaker on stage, but I just connected with him. And one of the things that he said that he was one of the speakers, and there was John Maxwell was one of the speakers there, and Deion Sanders, and there was a number of speakers. And he said, you know what, this is not a time for me to share my wisdom. I'm around all these great leaders. I'm going to observe and learn from them. And I thought, wow, that is profound. And a lot of times we want to say, we have a lot to say. We want to share our knowledge, but sometimes we have to be willing to observe. And so what I put in the book, a few ways to observe, is looking at a person's body language. So observing a person's body language. Am I connecting with this person? Am I really building common ground with this person? Are they, so I talk about in the book, if a person's arms are crossed, have they shut me out? So I'm looking, as I'm trying to connect with the person, what is their body language doing? So that's one thing. Another thing about observation is mentorship. So I give the example of Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan, if you know who these two individuals are. And yeah, so Kobe Bryant observed Michael Jordan's basketball game. And if you look at film, you'll see that, he was almost like a little brother of Michael Jordan, but he observed his game. He watched hours and hours of film. He also had conversations with him. He was mentored by him. And so he learned about what Michael Jordan did on and off the court, and so he just observed this other life and learned a lot through his observation. And so I think, it's a very powerful way to learn. It's quiet, but
Mhm.
if you get good at observation, you can learn a lot from another person. And I have mentors, I have coaches, I have counselors in my life that help me, and I observe from these individuals as well.
And the other thing I'm going to add, I go to prison. In fact, I'm going to prison this
Mm,
afternoon. I've been going for many years, but more constantly the last 20. And the inmates who are there, I
mhm,
often find, yes, they want to learn from me, but also they have their own wisdom. So when I
mhm,
can balance that out to be
mhm,
observing and then learning from them as
mhm.
well, life is really a dance.
Yes.
It's a movement, it's emotion, it's a
Mhm,
flow. And we can learn from the most unsuspecting spaces. A child. More recently, I'm really finding I'm going back to how a child acts, how a child
mhm.
does.
Right.
And so that I would I would not say that I always want to be in awe because I'm with great leaders, because some of those leaders are also plastic, if you will. I had a friend who said,
Mm,
"Oh, there's so many plastic people," and I, what are you talking about? So many Barbie dolls,
mhm.
so many Kens with the
Yeah.
facade on, and
Right.
touting how wonderful they are for
Mm,
themselves, but
mm.
not, when you move that mask away,
Right.
you don't have who you thought you had. And they
Mm.
haven't done their work, their inner
Yeah.
work, to be
Yeah.
where you and I are moved into. I mean, you and I
Right.
are pretty open and free, and still
Mm,
more. I think we'll still be uncovering all of that stuff
mm.
that's inside us
That's right.
until we cross the veil. And I kind of think that once we cross the veil, we just have new work to do.
Mhm,
But
mhm.
that's an interesting perspective, I think. How do you feel about that?
I love it. I love it. I think, one of the things that I've learned is you can learn from everyone. There's something you can learn from everyone in this world, really. And you know, and I think the observation comes from what can if I'm in a conversation with a person, maybe I'm at work or wherever it is, there's something I can learn every day. I know that. I'll give you another example. I'll tell you a story. I know you're a person of faith, and I'm a person of faith. And there was a young lady in our young adult group, and I asked the question, what's one way that you connect with people or something like that, and she's not, I wouldn't say a very outspoken person, but she said, one of the things that I do is when I go to the store or wherever I go, I always just say, God bless you after they serve me. And then I leave and go and and she leaves and goes and does her own thing. And I thought that's very profound. She's not necessarily sharing her faith, but through just those simple three words, God bless you, um, the other person may get curious about that. And she's not putting God in your face. She's just saying, God bless you. And she's moving on and going about her day. But I thought, wow, that's pretty powerful. So I learned something from, she's part of the young adult group. I learned something from her
Mhm.
that night.
For
Yeah.
sure. And in this world of people with so many ethnic cultures and so many religions coming together across the world,
Mm,
I don't even find it necessary to say, God bless you. Quite often it's just bless you. Whether,
Mm-hmm.
whoever their God is.
Right, right,
Right.
right.
God doesn't have just one name.
Mm,
When we close our
mm,
eyes, we can see Jesus. When a Hindu closes their eyes, they can see whoever. And a Muslim closes their eyes, they see. But there's only one source. So the
mm,
power is there. And so that's what I find, or even just finding the thank you. Mariana Williamson had quite a
mm.
struggle before she started training other people to take on the leadership.
Right.
She was doing it all herself. And one woman was a pain in her side. And
Hmm.
she'd say, well, you should be doing this and you should be doing that. And Marianne
Mm,
is trying to do it all and trying to add more on her shoulders because this
mm,
woman just will not, meeting after meeting after meeting. Well, you got to do, you got to do, you got to do. And Marianne said to herself, I am going to find the thank you in this yet. Well, this woman broke her.
wow.
And here's how she broke her. She said she realized she can't put more on her shoulders. She said, I can't do more. I have to teach other people to teach.
Mm, mm-hmm.
So the thank you was thank goodness for that one that was a thorn that just went, you got it, you got it, you got it, you
I
got it.
see. I see.
Yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
I can't do more. But I can train others to lead the same discussion groups I'm leading, which is you're working with a youth group. So in Africa, they call a youth group the ages you're talking about. But you can't do it all, and you can't collect
That's
everybody
right.
in the world and do it. So everybody jumps sort of the John Maxwell leadership type of thing, and that spreads it around. So you have other leaders doing the same thing.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
So her thank you. So when I got that and it went in, I thought, oh my goodness. Every time I have a challenge that
Mm,
I'm irritated with somebody, or I have a
mm,
challenge with what I have to do, you have to. Oh, will you please shut up? I hang in
mm,
there until I find the thank you. And
mm.
it's a felt thank you. It's a real thank you, just like Marianne's was of this woman that drove her crazy till it cracked the nut and said, I can't do more. Yes, I can teach others.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
Very powerful.
profound and huge. And yeah, it
Very
changed my
powerful.
life. And it
Yeah.
did change our lives.
Yeah. And I came to that point. Thank you for sharing that because that just it caused me to remember something. I was doing the same thing, Sandra. I was leading this group and having to teach every week over a number of weeks. My wife would help out sometimes, but I was pretty much doing it all. And I got that, like you said, that aha, where I said, no, I can't keep doing this. So I had to train some other leaders to start leading as well. So now we have 4 leaders and we switch off and it's released the burden, So I teach maybe 3 weeks out of a 12-week period um, and the load is distributed. So I'm not doing it all myself. Now I can still mentor and help those other leaders, but
Mhm.
yeah.
Now, I was a school teacher originally out of high
Mm,
school, went to teachers college. In those days, it was teachers college. And after that, it used to be Bachelor of Education. So I didn't get back into teaching because I didn't have my Bachelor of Education and there were no jobs. There were more teachers than there were classrooms to put in.
right.
But I remember from my teacher college days, and it never left either. You teach everything 3 different ways
Mm,
because some
hmm.
people see, some people hear,
Yeah,
and some
right.
people feel.
That's right.
So within that, everything you did, you taught in 3 different fashions. And the
Mm,
beauty of having your 4 leaders to break up your 12 weeks is that they're
mm,
going to bring a different perspective in. If we're the only one leading it,
that's right.
it becomes very pointed and jaded because we haven't learned other things. We're coming in with our style, which is
Hmm.
who we are.
Right.
But having the 4 leaders is a gift to the youth group as well.
It is. That's so true. It is. It's definitely a gift, and it's they also get different perspectives. The ones that are being taught,
That's right.
and so when I teach 3 weeks and then someone else comes, it's more refreshing,
Yes.
right? It's not, oh, we've got to hear the same person every week, and
With
then
the same style every week, every
with the
week.
same style. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, exactly.
So it makes it look like our style is the only style. No, it's the one that we operate in. And we can
Hmm.
be flexible, but we're not going to be teaching as effectively if we're not in our own passion, in our style. So I
That's
like
right.
to think that, whatever I am, hopefully am a bit of a light at the end of a tunnel for those people that struggle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there
Thank you
is
for
a
that.
way
That's good.
past that breaking point.
Hmm.
Yeah, my book is Breaking Point.
Breaking point.
Yes,
Okay.
successful on the inside, broken on the out. Successful on the outside, broken on the inside,
Hmm.
and a
Hmm.
path to a life of freedom and joy.
Wow. This sounds like a lifetime of wisdom that you're able to share.
I'm hoping that's how it comes. It's quite a
Mm,
challenge writing a book. What were your challenges writing your book?
I think just making sure my thoughts were clear. I've written. I think this is about the 12th book, maybe.
Oh,
Yeah. So I've written a number of books, but it's making sure that what I'm talking about is clear to my audience and they're understanding, you know, where I'm coming from. I think that's the hard part about writing a book is making sure that because um, you might get a certain perspective, and that's you're going to get that. People are going to have different perspectives, but
mhm,
when I when I write, I just want to make sure it's clear. I want to make sure that there's clarity, and that someone, everyone who reads it is taking something away
mhm,
and able to apply something to their lives. Right? That's the whole. It's like what you said. You're teaching when you're writing a book. You're teaching when you're speaking from a stage. You're teaching when you're facilitating a group. You're teaching. You're sharing, and so yeah, that's the big thing for me is being able to share my knowledge because I love to learn and I love to share what I
mhm.
learn.
And
Yeah,
when we share, we learn it deeper.
we do. We
Yeah,
do.
it's always
Yes,
been the old adage: if you want to learn something, teach it.
that's right. That's right. That's right. I started doing that this year where I'm building more content now. I'm teaching it. And then from those presentations, I'm writing books from those presentations. So it's, yeah, it's teaching it in different ways and I'm learning it deeper, as you said.
I've been in the financial world for 42 years, and they used to say when you know something, you'll be able to reduce it to a napkin at the dinner table or at the lunch table.
Oh, wow.
Yes, when you
I hadn't
really
heard
know
that.
something,
Huh.
it'll
Huh.
be reducible.
Hmm. Wow.
So
Okay.
my John Savage was my life insurance hero, if you will. He's passed away, but
Mm.
he was huge, $1 million round table, year after year, top of the table, quarter of the table, all of those tables. But he was just such a simple, plain man.
Mm.
And so he put his financial planning on one sheet on a flip chart.
Wow.
And it said, here's your financial planning. One day you're too dead, too sick, too old.
Mm.
That's it.
That's all he had.
That's all it was. So if you were going to be too dead, we needed to talk about the insurance world, but that was his,
Mm.
if you wish, your table of contents. A book
Hmm.
would have your table of contents.
Right.
So if you were going to go and talk about financial, there's too dead,
Mm.
too sick, too old. Well, if it's too dead, then you could open up all of the chapter on life insurances.
Mm.
If you're too sick, you can open up all the chapter on disability.
Hmm.
If you're too old, you can open up all of the world of investments and financial planning for retirement.
Right. Hmm.
Yeah. So
Wow.
I always took that. I used to say, oh, I could never say that. But I tried it a couple of times with clients and I let it fall out of my mouth. And I thought, now it's just part of what I do. You're too dead, too
Yeah.
sick, too old. Get
Wow.
over it. That's where we're going.
How long have you been doing financial?
42 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. 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 So you know a thing or two.
I know a thing or two. And I've reduced it to how do we live with our
Yeah.
money? What's our relationship with our money in
Hmm.
this life, With
Yeah.
these calls, they've been amazing because people are calling in. And these are brilliant people with jobs that they have to go to work and focus and produce whatever that project or that job is. And then they come home and their money is scattered They don't know where. It's like seeds that have blown from the dandelion. Don't know what I did with my money. It's just gone every month. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they couldn't do that at work. If you had a project with a budget, you're going to watch the budget.
Yeah, true.
So come home. What I've learned now is a lot of people need to really be looking at budgeting, not as a strict penalty, not as a prison, but as a way to look and see and then create their life around it. So this is your interview though, but this writing books is really uncovering a lot for me too. I'm struggling as I do my writing because at first I thought it was going to be all about a book for strong women who are going through divorce, but it isn't that. The divorce was my breaking point.
I see. Oh, I see.
Somebody else's breaking point might be PTSD. Somebody else's might be when, maybe they were a child and their mother died. That might have been the breaking point that directed their life in a different fashion. So it won't matter what the breaking point is. So I'm adjusting just my perception of how I'm putting it together.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be women, but no, it's men and women. We have our breaking point. What do we do? Where did it come from? What did I do about it? And what's the life now that I did my work?
Right.
Yeah. So it's really interesting working our way through. And my sister's been doing, here I am, my sister's been doing a lot of genealogy over the last probably 20 years. And it's been quite fascinating because most of us say, yeah. But now as I go digging down in, why am I the way I am? Now I can look at some of that ancestry that we've been talking about and the resilience and the courage and the things that they had to suffer through that were embedded in me societally. And really. So it goes really, really deep. So I'm not sure how all of that's going to get into my book or if it'll be just a kicking off point. But it's really interesting when you start to write the book, the stuff it brings up.
Oh, yeah.
Did you find that for yourself?
Oh, definitely. One of the things that I've had as a practice for years, and that is taking time on set times to write. Taking set times to write, so maybe that's Tuesday, Thursday, and I sit down and I write. If it's only a page, I write a page. But I sit down and discipline myself for a period of time to write. And that really helped me it helps with discipline, but it also helps. Sometimes you don't think you're going to be inspired every time, but just by having that discipline, it forces you to say, okay, this is my time that I'm going to write. And you'll be amazed at what comes to you by having those set times. Not everyone is like that, but that's how that's worked for me.
I know it keeps picking at me because I'm not very disciplined. I'm more like, I want to do it all. Squirrel. Oh, look at that one.
Yeah.
So if you've ever done the colors, the personality colors, I am green all the way through, like the right off the chart green, which means that every book, and I've got many of them, has a bookmark in it because none of them got completed.
Oh, I see. Okay. And I don't know. I think I'm a blue. I think I'm a true blue.
You might be a true blue with a lot of gold because a lot of the gold goes with structure and time and discipline.
Oh, maybe it's gold. Yeah. Okay.
No, but the true blue would be also the caring for others. So I think your first color would be the blue, the love and the caring, but how you would provide that is through structure and discipline.
That's true. That's me.
Yeah. So
that's me. Yeah. I took that. Wow. It's been about 6-7 years ago for me. But yeah, I remember they said you're a true blue. That's the one thing that I remember. It was through a career counseling program, and they said you're definitely a true blue. And I said, okay.
So that was always fun. And then I did the Myers-Briggs. I'm just always curious, personalities. I do a saboteur's assessment. I do a standout assessment. Yeah. And really, they're fun because we're all things. But where do we really blossom and kind of live? That's the fun stuff. But we'll know about the others so we can have conversation that matters and we can connect deeply.
Hmm.
So,
I'm working on another book on self-awareness.
are
This
you?
one's called Three Pillars of Developing Self-Awareness. And in that book, I'm talking about personality assessments and, different ways of discovering your personality through 360 feedbacks from others, and
Yes.
then through SWOT and doing a personal SWOT analysis of yourself. So your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities and threats. So that's an interesting development of this particular book.
Yes. And I did Landmark for a number of years, probably 10, 12 years. Just
Hmm.
loved it. And when one of the exercises was to have your sheet of paper and you were to do 5 of them in the next week. Well, I had such a blast. I probably did 25, 35, but you could have your little notepad there. I just had a number of copies of them. And I could say, Darren, what do you think? What do you perceive of me? Oh, well, I don't know. I've only met you here on Zoom and I watched you over there. I don't know. No, but what was it that you saw of me? And digging down into that. And then I got so silly as to do it on the subway.
Mm.
Some poor character that we just sat down. Well, kind of, what do you think of me now? Like, what am I bringing? What is it?
Hmm.
And then
Hmm.
went to my granddaughter. She was 10. And I said, so Saganette. And I asked her all the questions because there's 5 or 6 questions on that sheet. And she says, I don't know. There's nothing wrong that you do. You're just so special. And I said, yeah, but there's things that I annoy you about. There's things that I do. You just have to think about them. Well, let me think. No, I got it. I got it. She said, you go to teach me something and it's so smart. And then you give me 10 ways to do it and I get lost.
Oh.
From a little 10-year-old who dug around. What do I do? And she's absolutely right.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So it was an incredible. I keep meaning to dig out my Landmark papers and get that exact one back again, but it was incredible.
Can you still take that assessment, the landmark? Is it
But
still
the
available?
Landmark's not an assessment. That was a
Oh.
very in-depth training. Oprah, everybody's gone through it. The $1 Million Man, what's his name? And
Oh,
yeah,
okay. I've never heard of it until today.
yeah,
So
Landmark Forum. So you can Google it. They do it all
landmark
online
forums.
now, but it's life changing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah, I'll take a look at that.
yeah. So that was, those would be another point of turning. Dr. Phil. I used to really like his shows in the early years because he really was nailed right down to the real gear, and he would say, in his estimation, everyone has 10 defining moments in their lives.
Hmm.
And the
Wow.
defining moments. So Landmark would have been a defining moment for me. The breaking point for me, the divorce. Yeah, that was the biggie. So it'd be the one on
Mm.
the top, But all the other
Hmm.
changes. I mean, going to Toastmasters, going to do my prior learning assessment, all the things that I
Right.
do are turning points. All those main
Mm.
points.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're all turning points of some kind, but there's going to be one that just kind of really pivoted. I mean, my son passed away 8 years ago, and people would say that was a turning, but yes, it would be, but it wasn't the one that broke me. I was broke before that, and then did my recovery work.
Mm. Mm.
So I'm looking for the breaking point, the biggie.
Yeah.
But you're right. You're going into awareness, so all of those things could have their own little book.
Yeah. That's right. And
Yeah,
that's what I'm doing. Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, this has been an absolute slice. I see we're up to 40 minutes almost. The 3 pillars of learning. And here's Darren and Sandra. We met in Sherever in India, and then we jumped on the call together here. And we've been into really deep conversation.
We have.
Yeah, it's wonderful. What would you like to say? How are people going to get in touch with you? And what would you like to say to the audience as we close up?
I as you asked me that question, I thought, okay, what am I going to say? And one of the quotes that I love by Jim Rohn, and it's something that just came back to me when you asked that question was, um, he says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job.
Mm-hmm.
Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. And so, what does that mean? It really means that you have to focus. If you want to get somewhere in life, you have to focus on developing yourself. Self-development. If you can, and I know, Sandra, you are a person of self-development. You develop yourself. You're constantly learning and growing, and that is going to take you far. So I would say, get a copy of the book, The Three Pillars of Learning. It's going to help you to grow and develop. And focus on developing yourself. You can get a copy. You can reach out to me on Facebook. drman30 is my Facebook ID. You can also reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. And I guess we could put this in the comments as well, right?
Yeah,
Sandra,
you could put it in your comments on the, as you're sharing it forward to your own people as well.
Yeah.
You'll be able to speak to it. But I'm just going to mention, I tried to connect with you on LinkedIn, and you're kind of protected there. That you might need to open it up a little bit, because
Okay, I will open it up.
Send a message, because then they want you to be higher up or whatever.
Right.
But Facebook was easy to find you.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying get a copy of the book, but where do they get a copy of the book? Just connecting with you? It's an ebook, or is it something?
It's an ebook. Unfortunately, I'm changing my website, so I did have it in my website, but it's not up on the new website yet. So,
but are you selling it, or is this a gift?
It is for sale. It is for sale. I'm selling it for $9.99.
Okay.
But like I said, I don't have the link up yet. So if you can reach out to me, and I can get them a copy of it.
Wonderful. And I am the compassionate queen of straight talk, ever learning, ever growing, and helping people to speak up, speak out, and dig inside, because then you can have that life of joy and freedom and adventure. And you can reach me through Facebook, LinkedIn, DM me. And I have a webpage called sandravalks.ca. Everything is Sandra Valks. You'll see me easily with the pink hair. That's another day of Conversations with Sandra. I'm so happy, Darren, that you were able to join me today.
Thank you for having me.